Hello everybody. Dr. Dan Miller here, Historical Solutions LLC. You are on the 250 River with Dr. Dan. We're doing the top 5 for 250 years ago, the week ending October 2nd, 1775. This is episode 45. If it looks like I am at an abandoned, beaten down, broken down, and hagged out loading dock, that's exactly where I am. At a mall in America. So not of, but in America. Great to be with you. This is just kind of how it worked out, and I'm kind of glad it did. I may be back here again. I don't know, but we shall see. So let's get right into our episode for today. Top 5ing it from 250 years ago, the week ending October 2nd, 1775. So I hope you're having a good week. Here we go. Number 5. Wait. Graphics. I brought the graphics here to the hagged out, beaten down loading dock. Number 5 in our top 5. A word that's being used inside of Boston by the British Redcoats, mostly officers, but other people too, but it's mostly officers, Redcoat officers, that are using a particular word, and the word is R-E-B-E-L, rebel. They are rebels, the people who are working or fighting against or resisting British imperial policy are in fact rebels and should be treated as such, should be regarded as such, and should be described as such. Now that's a big deal because that carries all kinds of implications about what you're able to do to them and with them and at them and all those kinds of things. You don't have to obey the rules in the same way if they're not rebels. So it opens up a door on conduct and behavior, misconduct and misbehavior, if you will. And so that's an important thing. 250 years ago right now, the word rebels making its way into the vocabulary of the British Army and the British military leadership inside of Boston. Let's move on to number 4 in our list. I've got it written down. I've got to glance over here on the loading dock to make sure I'm getting it correctly. Caleb Haskell is a soldier from New England, and today, 250 years ago, he says we're learning to be soldiers now. We're now learning it. A month ago or a week ago, we weren't, but now we're learning it, and it feels good to Caleb. Young Caleb. And what feels good about it is he's on the Kennebec River in what's now Maine, moving northwest, dragging along canoes. They called them bateaus, very large canoes. His comrades in the Continental Army, led by Benedict Arnold, there's about 1,000 of them, maybe a little bit more, are working their way up the Kennebec River with an idea of assaulting the British position in Quebec and taking Canada as the 14th colony of resistance against the British Empire. So they're hacking their way through what feels like them to be exactly what it is, which is a wilderness. It's such a struggle. Caleb has spent almost the entire day waist deep in the Kennebec River, as I said, hauling this thing, lifting this bateau with his friends and his fellow soldiers. And today, he said, I feel like we're learning to be soldiers now. And you can just see in the writing of this sentence by Caleb, you can just feel the emotion and the kind of the confidence that comes out of that, the belief that comes out of that. So as far as tomorrow is concerned, well, that's the next day. I don't know how much of a new day it is, but it's the next day, and we're learning to be soldiers now. That is number 4 on our list of top 5, and I mark that to you as a kind of a turning point for him. It's the experience that he's gaining that gives him this new confidence and other kinds of brighter outlooks going forward. Number 3 for our top 5. So we've got Caleb on the Kennebec River. I'm a new soldier. I'm learning to be a soldier now. Inside the Second Continental Congress, 250 years ago right now, the presiding officer, the president, not president, president is really how the term ought to be spoken. John Hancock is writing a letter to George Washington. In that letter is a variety of things, asking him to start thinking about making decisions regarding building winter quarters for the soldiers, the Continental soldiers that have encircled Boston. He's asking Washington to think about, let's start making decisions about how we transition from a gaggle of colonies, forces, colonies, armies into one kind of collective continental army that's been formed, how we bring all of that together. Start thinking about these things, General. And then finally he makes this phrase, this offhanded phrase, that he says new modeling. The new modeling of the army will come soon. And very soon, in fact. So soon, he says. The new modeling. And he capitalizes in new, and he capitalizes M in modeling. New modeling. This army will have a new modeling that's on its way. It's a very important thing. So we've got kind of a word day today, right? We had the British Redcoats using the word rebel. I've got President John Hancock using the word phrase new modeling. Let me tell you what that means. That's referring all the way back 125-ish years ago to the Puritan Revolution in England in the 1630s, 40s, and 50s. Oliver Cromwell led an uprising, led an overthrow of the British monarchical system, setting up a new Puritan government that was going to be founded on Puritan theology and Puritan social practice and all the other kinds of things with that. And that included the army. The army was going to behave as a Puritan force. Now, Cromwell went off the rails and turned into a kind of this despotic, crazed general type of thing with, just drunk with power and all that kind of stuff. We've seen that in other examples of history, both before and since, haven't we? But Cromwell's an example of that kind of thing. But my point is that President Hancock is saying we're new modeling our army too into this kind of spiritual, religious, theocratic driven entity for a new cause in a new world and a new life. Now, he might not have assumed every single ounce of that was in that phrase, but a big bunch of it is. New modeling. That's the phrase used by President John Hancock that makes our top 5 list in the number 3 slot. Now we're going to move on to number 2, and we're going to stay with the Continental Congress, the Second Continental Congress, 250 years ago this week. While President Hancock is having this written discussion with George Washington outside of Boston, we've got Edward Rutledge from South Carolina, a delegate. Hancock's a delegate from Massachusetts. Rutledge, a delegate from South Carolina. Makes about 50 of these guys there, in the Second Continental Congress. Rutledge stands up and makes a proposal to everybody on the floor of the Continental Congress in Pennsylvania State House that you now know as Independence Hall. Rutledge says, I propose that we get rid of, we eliminate, we kick out every Continental Army soldier who is black. I don't care if he's free, I don't care if he's enslaved, I don't care what the condition is. We need to remove all black soldiers from the Continental Army as of right now. Now remember, Rutledge is South Carolinian, and Rutledge is an enslaver, and he's part and parcel of a slave world, a slave culture, and a slave system. And he's saying, 250 years ago right now, I propose, let's get rid of all black soldiers. Purify this army racially along white lines or non-black lines. And so several, in fact maybe all of his southern delegates, southern colleagues from other southern colonies jump up, yes, we should do this. We support Brother Rutledge. And then everybody else, the non-Southern delegates, jump up with equal fervor and with equal power and with equal force in their voices and say, no, this is wrong. We oppose it. Sit down and be quiet. We are not going to act on your proposal. These are all the non-Southern delegates. For those of you that know history, my goodness gracious, we're sitting here in very early October 1775, having a moment that will resonate 80 some years into the future, right? In terms of the onset of the American Civil War. But here we are, 80 some years into their past, in October of 1775, and they are like this. Well, there's enough of the non-Southern group to kind of shout down and make sit down the Southern group. And so this particular storm passes for the time being. But it's a storm that has blown through. It's a storm that has, and everybody in this room knows, has tremendous capacity for reappearing at any given moment on a lot of different levels. So that's 250 years ago right now. This is number 2 on our list of the top 5 on the 250 River. And now we get to number 1. And number 1 is going to strike you as a little bit strange. Maybe. Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams, a delegate at the Second Continental Congress. He's one of Hancock's colleagues from Massachusetts, John Adams. Well, his wife Abigail, she is all in on life and living in every way. And I don't mean to make her into some god or goddess, but she just takes everything to the fullest hilt of what life and living's all about, whether it's child raising or marriage or running the farm or thinking about politics and social policy and imperial colonial relationships and all of those kind of literature and education, on and on. She just life to the marrow, man. She just really takes it all in. Well, with that kind of person, today is a big day. 250 years ago, today's a bad day. Her mom died. Her mom's elderly, but Abigail, being Abigail, loved her mother ferociously. Loves her parents both the same way. Knows how much they've meant to her and mean to her. Knows how much she owes to them. And her mom has just died. And it's devastating. Absolutely heartbreaking, heart-rending grief starts today for Abigail 250 years ago. I bring it up for a couple reasons. Well, maybe really for one reason. All the politics, all these things that they've got going on and that we've got going on. People's lives are above and beyond that at the same time that they're in that. It's her mom. Her mom's passed away. And boy, it's a dismal outlook for the day and for the week and all the rest. A life without mom. She'll move on, Abigail will, but it's going to be a while to get there. And so I just want us to remember that with all of our stuff, and as they had to remember all of their stuff, and as Abigail had to remember, and she does in a letter to John, all of her stuff. Geez, mom's dead. And I just hate that. So, what's the big idea, Dan? Tomorrow's the big idea. What do you have with you that you're taking into tomorrow? Abigail has grief with her that she's taking into tomorrow. She's also got a spiritual faith that's very powerful and very meaningful and rich to her. So it doesn't make it perfect by any means, but she's taking that into tomorrow with her grief. There's somebody honking a horn, robbing something for all I know. So tomorrow, that's the big idea. What are you taking into tomorrow? Caleb Haskell is taking enthusiasm. We're now learning to be soldiers. That's going into his tomorrow. The British officers in Boston, they're rebels, the trash. They're taking that attitude into tomorrow. President John Hancock, we're new modeling this army. That's an expectation, a standard he's taking into tomorrow. And so on. So that's the big idea for today. What are you taking into tomorrow? I'm Dr. Dan Miller. Storage Solutions LLC. Thanks for hanging out with me on the old abandoned loading dock, and I'll talk to you soon, maybe next week, I hope, for On the 250 River with Dr. Dan. Take care.